Hey guys, and welcome back to the show. I am your host, Megan Hardy, and I am the founder of Fitness Uncharted, which is a women's health and fitness coaching company that I created to help women lose body fat, build lean muscle, improve their metabolism, and transform their lives from the inside out. And today, you guys, we're going to be talking about a method for creating more food freedom in your life. I am all about that food freedom. Like, I don't care about getting fitness results or weight loss, fat loss results, building muscle, all that good stuff, which is great if it doesn't come with the food freedom side of things, too. So, very pumped for this topic, excited. Also wearing my baggy t-shirt while I record this episode, which if you guys know me, you know it's like I'm like it's kind of weird for me to see myself like in a t-shirt because I'm always wearing like either tank top or bra tops, because your girl gets hot easily and I need my armpits free. I need airflow. So, but today was a active rest day and recovery day for me. So no workout for me today. I have been lounging in some nice baggy sweatpants and t-shirt today. But I'm normally wearing something that has my armpits free. I'm actually like always kind of jealous when I see other girls or people in the gym that can wear like t-shirts or long sleeve, especially like the cute like long sleeve shirts. I'm like, your homegirl would just be sweating out. Like I would have the ugliest pit stains ever. Because I'm a sweater, guys. I just sweat a lot. My husband wears long sleeves to the gym all the time. I'm like, how are you not dying? I think I wore a t-shirt one time and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm suffocating. I'm suffocating. I need airflow. So anyway, I'm not that person. So I need my tank tops or my bra tops so my armpits can be free and can breathe. But anyway, enough about that. So let's jump on in to this one method of tracking macros actually for food freedom. So that's what the topic is about today. There are a lot of tips and tricks I could give you guys on how to create more food freedom in your life, but this is one of them. So we're going to niche down to how tracking macros can create more food freedom, not restriction on, whatever popular opinion or belief might be. If you have not had success with macros or have not tried macros, you might think it actually might create more restriction. But macros is something that it will serve you for life. A lot of people think that macros and tracking macros might be like obsessive or restrictive. Like they might have just kind of, if they've never tried it, they might feel like, oh my gosh, people who track macros are like way obsessive or overboard. I could never do that. Or if you've tried it and you felt that way, then you may or may not have been doing something right, or maybe just not shown how to do it the right way. But if you feel like, okay, it's going to consume you or it consumes, people who track macros, it just takes over their life. Unfortunately, that's probably because they weren't doing it the right way, or they just were never taught how to do it. And that's a really big thing. Like, I'm not going to lie, tracking macros can be super confusing if you're trying to figure it out from like the online calculators and like Dr. Google. Like it can be very, very confusing, especially when every online calculator is going to spit out different macros for you. You're like, okay, what's correct? I put in my same height, age, weight, goals, all that good stuff, activity, and they're all giving me different answers. So like I know it can be very confusing when you are using like online calculators, Google resources like that. But being shown or being taught how to do it and explaining and learning the reason why behind what you're doing makes it way easier. It's kind of like an analogy or example I could give you is like changing a tire or like changing the air filter out on your home HVAC. That's a personal story, but like think about like changing a tire, right? Like if you had never been shown how to change a tire before, very confusing. Like you probably would just do more damage, more harm than good trying to change your own tire, right? But if your dad or someone, showed you how to change a tire, you probably would get it, like, and feel pretty confident in that the next time, or at least the second time in your life that you have to change a tire, because you've been shown how to do it. So much easier, totally different than if you had never been shown what to do before and we're just trying to go in cold turkey and change a tire and like hoping for the best, right? My personal example is the air filter with your HVAC. Like, ladies, if you're listening, who has changed out your air filter, or does your husband do that job or task? But I remember in the current house that we're in, I was renting it before we owned it. We went to like a rent to own situation. And it was just me and some other girls living in the house at the time. And like I'd never been shown how to replace an air filter before. So like I didn't know what I was doing. Like I remember as like, and well, at that point, I guess I wasn't a homeowner, I was still a renter. But either way, that was confusing at first because no one had shown me how to replace the air filter. Like our landlord was like, yeah, they're the air filters in whatever room. Like, please make sure to do it every so often. But I was like, okay, when I was trying, I'm like, where is it? Up in the attic? Okay, like what parts am I, oh, I have to unscrew this thing. Like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. Like, it's all kind of foreign. Like, am I gonna, oh, is that, okay, that's the filter. Okay, pull that out. But then if I put in the new one, am I putting it in correctly? I'm like, am I sure it's in the right place? And like all the way in, like, it's just all those questions, like, things that you don't even know to ask because you're like, you just don't know what you don't know. It's confusing, right? But now, like, I know exactly what to do. I know, pat on the back for me. I know how to replace an air filter. Yay! I've entered adulthood. But like now it takes me 2 seconds. It takes me no time, right? That's because I learned how to do it. I was shown how, and I figured it out. But the same principle applies to macros. Like people try to do it on their own and then they get overwhelmed and confused and spend way too much time trying to figure it out. And then they throw in the towel and they're like, oh my gosh, this just wasn't for me. I felt like I was getting too obsessive, or I felt like it was too overwhelming, whatever, things like that. But they're really missing out on the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow if that's where they left off. Like, especially if you never got help with macros, it's like, you might be missing out. You might be stopping like 2 feet from gold, because once you get the hang of it, it's not something that should take over your life or take a bunch of extra time. Like this especially goes out to my mamas who are like, even my sister and I have had this conversation. She's like, oh my gosh, like I just couldn't like think of adding one more thing to my plate each day. But I'm like, when you get the hang of it, it shouldn't take you any more than 10 minutes to track your food for the whole day. And my recommendation is always to pre-track your food the night before. So like who isn't on their phone for 10 minutes at some point in the day, right? And to plug something in while you're sitting on the couch watching Netflix, not a big deal, not that hard, right? So but the unfortunate part is a lot of people miss out on the gold because they throw in the towel too soon. But good news that I have for you is if you want to learn how to set and adjust your own macros, then you can actually download my in-depth macro guide. I actually have recently released this, so this is pretty brand new, but it is very in-depth. I don't remember how many pages, like well over 20 pages of like a macro guide for you guys. Very in depth to set and adjust your own macros, completely free. You can download that guide by clicking on the link in the show notes, and that will teach you how to do it. I'm very much a how and why type of person, like one that helps me with compliance if I know why I'm doing something, but also it'll kind of take away some of the noise of like the random answers you've probably gotten from online calculators. And then if you need help implementing this strategy, then you can also apply for one-on-one coaching. And that link is in the show notes as well. So if you go to that link and click on the apply for coaching, that'll take you to my booking page and calendar, and then you can pick a time that works well for you. We can figure out if it would be a good fit for us to work together, and I can help you with the implementation of tracking macros and getting closer to those fitness goals that you have. Because that's the other kicker too, you guys, is like macros only works if you work it, just like anything. And sticking to it can be hard, especially if you aren't doing it the most effective and efficient way. So if you need help with the implementation, go to the link in the show notes. I'd love to chat with you. And also, if you want to do it on your own, that's cool too. And you can download my free guide, which is in the show notes. But macros is such a life skill, and it will serve you so, so, so well. Like it will serve you for a long time to come. And I will say, like, for me personally, macros is something that helped me step away from my binging and restricting cycle that I was in for years. And then now I personally don't track macros because I've gotten on the other side of it, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about how to go from point A to point B of, using macros as a tool to learn how to eat for your body, and then being able to step away from it and not feeling like you have to track macros and track every bite of food that you eat for the rest of your life, but you now have the food freedom and you know how to eat and maintain your body composition, or eat for your goals and maintain your body composition, not eat your body composition. But tracking macros, it'll teach you what's in your food, which is so important and so critical. It teaches you the protein, fats, and carb breakdown. So you can actually learn what you need to eat more of and then what to eat less of. So macros really just gives you a budget. It's like, okay, you have X amount of protein, X amount of carbs, and X amount of fats, and eat the foods that you like and prefer to meet those requirements and those needs. We do want to try to stay in the 80-20, like 80% of those foods coming from whole foods, lean protein sources, complex carbs, healthy fats. But then it also allows for 20% of the fun food. Like, you could have the cookie and that's just going to take up some of your carbs and fats for the day. But if the rest of your carbs were like sweet potato and olive oil and avocado and things like that, that's perfect. But it allows that freedom to do that. It also removes the good or bad mentality around food and leaves room for some of the quote unquote fun food where you can have the cookie guilt free because you've left room in your day to have the cookie. You've left enough carbs and fats left over, and you don't have to have guilt around that much. Like, very different than a lot of other diets where it's like, oh, if you're low carb, if you have something that's too high of carb, that's a no and a slap on the hand. Or, you know, like if you're trying to do no sugar diet or whatever, it's like these things where you actually feel a bunch of guilt around it. Macros can be something, if done the right way, that you can actually enjoy these things to completely guilt free, which is so beautiful. You don't have to feel guilt about having a cookie if it falls in your macros. It's great. The other thing I will say too is if macros feels overwhelming, you'll learn this as well from the macro guide if you download that. But if macros tracking protein, carbs, and fats feels overwhelming, just start with calories and protein, and then try to fill your fats and carbs with mostly healthy fats, mostly complex carbs, but don't worry about the exact macro ratios and macro numbers. Just focus on your protein goal and your calorie goal. That's something that actually we do with our clients starting out. And sometimes for a lot of them, we never even set carb or fat goals because they can kind of be interchangeable. I won't go down that whole rabbit hole because you can learn more about that in my macro guide, but it can be as simple or as complicated as you want it to be honest. And then also tracking macros, like the structure of tracking your macros actually gives you more freedom, and just kind of like kids thrive on structure, right? Like we know a kid thrives with structure. We actually do too as adults. And with tracking, we're not guessing at our nutrition. Like we don't have this like, oh my gosh, I don't really know if I can have that or if I have room in my calories or nutrition for the day. So now I feel kind of bad about having it, blah, 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 blah. Like when we're not guessing at our nutrition, and we actually learn how to eat for our goals and how to incorporate our favorite foods, that is so freeing. I will say, I know for me personally that structure is what helped me stop binging and restricting my food, because I had the structure of knowing, okay, I can have this stuff and I can enjoy this in moderation. Like instead of just either going to extremes. It can help take out those extremes. It also, you learn that you can actually eat more food and calories to get lean and toned. That's one of the best things about tracking macros. And this is one of my favorite things with working with clients. The majority of women that we work with start out under eating to some degree, some more than others, and they are usually terrified to increase calories. Totally normal. I get it. It is really scary, especially when you've come from really restrictive diets or eating, a 1200 calorie diet. It is scary to eat more food. Or we have some clients who have even come from past eating disorders and they always felt restricted when they tracked calories or macros, but tracking their food in an effort to actually eat more food gives them the control that they need to feel safe while methodically increasing calories. And that helps them to realize that they can actually eat more food without fear of gaining a bunch of weight or body fat. So it's like they have the control of tracking their macros and doing it in a very controlled manner of increasing. And then it actually has proven for a lot of our clients to be a very freeing thing of like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to blow up like a balloon as I'm eating more food. This is amazing. And it's like, there's something that clicks that's been really cool. I will say one caveat there, you must know yourself and your relationship with food to determine if tracking is an option for you. For some, like if you've had a past eating disorder, like I said, like some of our clients track and doing it this way, find more food freedom with doing that. But for some, it's just not yet an option. And it may never be an option, depending on your past triggers or past relationship with food or eating disorder. If that's still something that's kind of present that you're really struggling with, this is probably not the best option for you. But depending on where you're at and how much healing you've done coming from that, then this could be something that is actually very eye-opening and turns into something that helps you take a step closer to that food freedom, which is really beautiful. And at the end of the day, you guys, too, with tracking macros, the other reason why it's so freeing and can help you move towards that food freedom is because the end goal is to learn how to intuitively eat for your body and your goals. Like macro tracking teaches you how to do that. So if you just willy-nilly try to eat, quote unquote, eat intuitively, like whatever that means, right? Like eat intuitively, that looks so different to different people. Same principle as like quote unquote clean eating. Like what does that even mean? Like it's so ambiguous, right? So it's like no wonder people don't get results if you're just like eating intuitively. It's like, oh, okay, we just be out here willy-nilly. I don't know. You probably aren't like if you were trying to do that without learning how to eat properly for your body, you probably aren't eating the right kinds of foods or the right amount of food that you need. So like the quantity and quality of your food really matters and you might not be eating what you need to get the results that you want, especially thanks to a lot of restrictive low calorie diets that have messed with our body's natural hunger hormones and our bodies are probably not giving us the right cues for effective quote unquote intuitive eating, because I will tell you a lot of the women that I work with, they have like very low or very little hunger cues and they might only be eating like 1,000 calories, but they're like, yeah, I'm never hungry. Well, that's because their metabolism has down regulated and now they're not burning as many calories and their metabolism is slower. But it doesn't mean they're doing the right thing for their body. They might be listening to their body and not eating. If they're not hungry, they don't eat. If they are hungry, they do eat, but they're not doing the best thing for their body. They have to relearn intuitive eating. And we actually have to retrain our body and metabolism first so that we can learn how to intuitively eat the right way. And macros are one really, really effective way to do that. It's not the only way. There are other ways that you can kind of approach it. I do have some clients who like aren't willing to track macros or like simply can't because of past eating disorders or, existing triggers with tracking. But if you are open to it and want to expedite results, then macro tracking will serve you for life. It will. And the other good news too is you don't have to do it the rest of your life. That's why like in the third phase of our program, it's our mastery phase, and that's where once our clients have gotten the physical results that they came for, which again macro tracking is going to help expedite your physical progress and results too, not just the food freedom part of things, but also like your fat loss and your muscle building goals. But once you get there, then we wean clients off of tracking to where they're not tracking every day of the week. They start tracking less days of the week until eventually they're not tracking at all. And then they finally get to where I'm currently at in my life, which is I might use, my Fitness Pal or a macro tracker and track my food every now and again just to kind of check myself. Or maybe I'll do it for a week or two at a time if I'm just trying to dial things in. But I do not track my food every day anymore. And I don't have the need to. I'm in maintenance mode. I now know how to eat for my body composition and my goals. And all of that was learned via learning what's in my food, learning my protein, carbs, and fats, learning what's like the breakdown and the budget that I have for each of those things in the daily food that I'm eating. Macro tracking can teach you how to do that. So like I said, it's just such a life skill, and it really gives you more freedom with your food. And it might just take that mindset shift for some people, that it's not restrictive and obsessive, or it doesn't have to be. It can actually give you so much freedom by giving yourself that structure, and then learning how to intuitively eat the correct way for your body. And as a reminder, you guys, you can download the free macro guide. So go do that if you want it, and or apply for one-on-one coaching by clicking on the links in the show notes to get started with your macro tracking and food freedom journey ASAP. Even if you have been tracking macros or you've done online calculators before, whatever, I would still say download that free guide if you want it, because you'll probably learn a thing or two in there as well. And then, of course, if you need help, just reach out. If you have any questions whatsoever about the process, feel free to DM me. My social media handles are also in the show notes as well. And until next time, you guys, make it an amazing day, and I'll talk to you again soon.